welcome to our 1-year Chapter Zero annual anniversary event. I'm very happy to see every one of you because I think the people that have gathered today, they are trying to make the contribution to this green agenda of Uzbekistan. So thank you for being with us with this year, and also to the new journalists from Aqua Power. So thank you for joining the team and making the contribution as well. So actually, 1 year ago, we just started the journey. Next slide, please, Nazima. And we have launched the 26th chapter. It's a global network for those that don't know. And right now, there are already more than 40 chapters globally. So if before the strategy was to open the chapters in developed parts of the world, but now the strategy is about enlarging the chapters in developing parts of the world. A couple of months ago, already Chapter Zero Kazakhstan was launched, and we already hear in the news that soon Chapter Zero Kyrgyzstan will be launching. So hopefully, in the near perspective, we can take the Central Asian approach and have some joint efforts together. Next slide. Just to give you a quick note, so far we have 36 members. We're trying to only target the top managers, the CEOs, and non-executive directors of the companies. We have more than 2,500 followers on LinkedIn, and that's our main platform. I think this is also a great result, and I can see that Odil is our content and communication manager who drives LinkedIn, so thanks a lot. So far, we had 6 events and more than 300 people that have attended, and we have conducted 1 research in the climate change awareness that's soon going to be released. And just to give you a quick overview that our first events, yes, next slide. So we had the launch event, and we talked about the climate risks in the banking sector. We talked about climate awareness rising. Next slide, please. Just and then we also had an event of ESG and investor relations, which is also quite important to attract the right investments. Then the next event were also about the corporate governance, because we thought without building the proper grounds about the corporate governance, we could not move to the climate governance agenda. And we have launched the corporate governance handbook specifically made for Uzbekistan. So if you're not aware, we are strongly recommend to check it out. Next slide, please. Then also one of the specific events we had is about the green building certification, because you're all aware that Uzbekistan and Tashkent is booming in terms of buildings and doing the construction area, and we thought this would be a very important event for people to know. And we realized that it's not about so much extra costs. Actually, you can make green construction quite an efficient, effective manner long term. Also, some of the statistics I want to share from our first report that just wanted to highlight that it was done among the top managers of the business. Around 50 people were surveyed, and we see that people are already, the top managers are already aware that there's a climate change, and it's important for the business to think about it and take some actions. So we see that slowly the market is getting ready. Next slide, please. But so far, only like 20% of the organizations are taking into account information, including it into the decision making. Still at a very early stage, but still we see that iceberg started moving. So we kind of were happy about the progress. Next slide, please. And when we ask like how Chapter Zero can help or what is important, so they also highlight that it's important to share the knowledge, to give us like different trainings in this area. So we clearly see that there's a clear role of Chapter Zero, how we can contribute to this area. Just on this quick, maybe say positive note, we see that we still have a lot of things to do. And hopefully we can have a lot of collaborations in the future. So the first step is done, and just it's a 1-year anniversary. Hopefully we'll have many more. Just wanted to congratulate everyone that we made the 1 year, and this is, I think, quite a good progress. So again, thank you very much, and let's keep the journey moving. So this was about from my part. We also have our partners from Chapter Zero Kazakhstan. She's the founder, Kanidash Imanbayeva. She gladly agreed to talk about the green agenda in Kazakhstan and their key priorities in the region. Ligash, I think she was online.
Yes, thank you, Zarina. Thank you, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and fellow Chapter Zero members. As I was introduced, my name is Karl Gashamanbayeva, and I'm the founder and chair of Chapter Zero Kazakhstan. It's truly an honor to join you today to share key priorities of the green agenda in Kazakhstan. And before diving in, I want to extend a big congratulations to Chapter Zero Uzbekistan on their first anniversary. I think what an incredible milestone, and dedication and hard work over the past year have been nothing short of inspiring. And especially for Chapter Zero Kazakhstan, as we followed your steps at the 31st chapter, we are so excited to celebrate this with you. So over the past year, Chapter Zero Uzbekistan has made significant strides, as was shown on the slides just now, in advancing the green agenda. And this event highlights Uzbekistan's commitment to sustainable development and climate resilience amid its unique environmental challenges. As one of the Central Asia's largest countries, Uzbekistan faces issues like water scarcity, land degradation, and high carbon emissions, but has vast potential for solar and wind energy to drive its green agenda forward. As for Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan is a prime example of a country which has also seriously recognized the threat of climate change. We are ranked at 20th in the world for carbon dioxide emissions. Our president, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, last year in his address through the carbon neutrality strategy until 2060, has outlined our ambitious goals to combat climate change. And these documents detail Kazakhstan's commitment under the UN Sustainable Development Agenda 2030 and the Paris Agreement, emphasizing how crucial the climate crisis is to us. And to achieve these goals, we must implement effective policies, programs across the economy. And these key reforms include the carbon neutrality strategy until 2060, which was approved last year, and which aims for carbon neutrality by 2060 and 15% emissions reductions by 2030. It's from the levels of 1990s. The updated national contribution approved also last year in April targets a 15% GSG reduction unconditionally, and if with international support, we can aim for 25% support by 2030. We also have the concept for transition to a green economy, and this strategy outlines renewable energy and energy efficiency. While the Environmental Code of Kazakhstan encompasses regulations on environmental protection and GHG emissions management. Additionally, there is a huge work is ongoing with decarbonization strategies for the energy system, because as we know, we have a good strategy, but in order to implement it, we have to understand what is a roadmap. And this includes substantial investments in renewable energy. And we are talking about today as an investment of around 610 billion USD, addressing over 80% of our GSG emissions. So these strategies and policies show Kazakhstan's commitment to a sustainable future, which is also aligning with international climate goals and promoting green growth within our country. Kazakhstan's emission trading system, which was established in 2013, covers 43% of our nation's GSG emissions, and it's very crucial for carbon reduction. Efforts are underway to enhance measurement, reporting, verification, benchmarks, and to expand ETS to new sectors. And additionally, of course, we are aligning our ETS with EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism. The energy sector transition is very vital, and phasing out all the coal-fired plants and introducing carbon capture technologies can significantly reduce emissions. Today, with renewable energy capacity at 5.92%, we aim to triple this by 2030 and advance hydrogen development to meet climate goals. So these national actions are very crucial. But international cooperation and regional initiatives are even more vital. In 2026, Kazakhstan will host the Regional Climate Summit with the UN and other organizations to mobilize regional action and unify efforts for climate resilience. But we all understand that mitigating climate change isn't just the government's job. The IPCC emphasized in 2018 the need for collective involvement and recommending strategies to prevent global warming for exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius. And here is where the corporations and business community play a crucial role. They are not only drivers for the climate crisis, but also bear a huge responsibility for reforming the global economy to align with climate goals. And today, the companies, they have a dual challenge. They influence the climate through their operations, through their processes, and also are at the forefront of innovations. So the corporate responsibility extends beyond external factors, and where investors and regulators are constantly demanding the development of transition plans with very clear, ambitious, and measurable milestones. And here a board of directors play a key role in this transformation. They symbolize the long-term vision of the company and are responsible for ensuring the strategy aligns with global climate goals. However, today, as we all know, that many boards struggle to grasp with the multifaceted nature of climate-related risk and opportunities, and to effectively guide companies towards an environmentally sustainable model, it's crucial to enhance the climate-related competencies of board members. And here is where the Chapter Zero Kazakhstan, as Chapter Zero Uzbekistan, we all working to advance these priorities through the policy advocacy with government bodies for robust environmental regulations, corporate engagement to integrate ESG principles into business strategies, and organizing educational programs and awareness campaigns to inform stakeholders about climate governance and green agenda. We are particularly excited about the prospect of collaborating more closely with Chapter Zero Uzbekistan, because we think that by sharing our experiences and learning from each other, we can accelerate our progress and amplify our impact through joint projects, knowledge sharing via workshops, seminars, and advocating for harmonized environmental policies, which are quite important across Central Asia. So in conclusion, I would like to thank once again to Chapter Zero Uzbekistan for this opportunity to share our vision. Congratulations again on your first year anniversary. Your achievements are a source of inspiration for all of us. Let's continue to work together to achieve our common goals and make a lasting impact, not only in our Central Asia region, but in our planet. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Karnagash, for your interesting speech and inspirational one. Definitely, we are very excited and open for future collaborations and future projects and webinars that we can have in the future. So thank you very much, and also have a great journey. All the best. I hope all the energy would be enough to drive this project forward. So thank you again.
Indeed, thank you.
Now the next speaker on our agenda is Irene Pikola, if I pronounce the name correctly, and she represents Chapter Zero Poland, and she would like to show some different climate agenda practical cases that were done in their markets. Some insights will be shared. Irene?
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, super. Thank you so much. So first of all, congratulations to you all. As you said, my name is Irena Pichola. I'm actually representing Responsible Business Forum, who is hosting the Chapter Zero Poland, but I was also for last 10 years a partner at Deloitte. And actually I was with my team, and I see Veronika Myk here representing Deloitte, involved with EBRD on starting the chapter. So I'm super proud of seeing how well you progressed, and actually how the idea and the collaboration with Westminster here actually grew. So congratulations to you all. I can bring you some perspective from the Polish market in terms of still relatively immature understanding of the issues amongst management and non-executives, as well as some practical examples of what we started doing as Chapter Zero Poland to actually raise the level of awareness, but also the perception of urgency, which is needed in order to take actions. So first of all, I believe that what is really important is lead by examples. So it's important that I've heard from the team here that you have your leading businesses around the chapter, and it's important that you have them, that they showcase and that they share their practices. We're quite lucky having ambitious clients and partners in Poland, which were open to share their journey while setting the targets. And in order to achieve carbon neutrality, obviously you have to start the journey. And the journey quite often is being started with science-based targets, which became the initiative to help in setting the targets. And I can share with you that one of the companies which was actually setting this as one of the first and leading company in Poland, it was Żabka. It was the big convenience store retailing company. It was 2021 when they set their targets for 5 years. So 2026, quite soon, is the time when it will be checked. And they set 25% of reduction in the scope 1 and 2. But what is important, they also set the target for store emissions reduction, 70%, including the business relations with many stakeholders. And what is super important to remember here, that all of you in the room here, even if you set your own targets, it's even more important to actually interact within your clients, within your suppliers, and actually achieve the goals jointly. So initiatives like Chapter Zero, which is actually setting the forum, setting the group of interactions with people, with management boards, with non-executives who can also inspire each other how to control, how to ask difficult questions, but also how to help with the knowledge brought to the room is super important. So the other thing which is important in terms of the leading by example is obviously also getting the knowledge. And in getting the knowledge, it's also important to be very practical on the aspects which are relevant. Now we call it, with the new regulations coming for reporting, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, we call it double materiality. So it means what is really material for me and my business. And this is another story which I wanted to share with you, that in Chapter Zero, we started initiating sectorial initiatives. So banking initiative, real estate initiative, and clearly it became very engaging for many stakeholders representing the sector to be able to share the struggles which are relevant to their own sector perspective. So the real estate forum became really active, and Skanska, Colliers, so big international players, they actually are very open to share how they contribute to the net zero strategy through the implementation of certain actions within their buildings, within facility management, and so on and so on. And what is interesting, actually buildings are relevant to everyone. So it's not just the sector which is sharing the great stories and practical examples, but it's actually becoming relevant to everyone. And very similar when we talk about financial sector, I actually saw that you had the event that assigned to financial sector as well. Yes. Congratulations. I believe that this is important, and this is exactly where banks are once more playing a role, not only managing their own risks and their own responsibilities, but they are also having such a huge impact through their portfolio. And once more, each of us and each of the businesses is actually using money this way or another. So it's either the lender or even the big kind of green bond issuer or anything else. So once more, the relevance is becoming critical here. And there are also the driving forces, because actually financial sector is a big driving force for many who, in order to meet certain criteria or in order to meet a little bit of an advantage over the percentages paid, is actually getting the additional driver for changing. And to finish with one more thought on how to be effective. So not only lead by example, not only share in your peer groups, meaning also the sectorial approach, but also what is important is to be able to share your own perspective on management as well as non-executive directors control. So one of the ideas which we used, and I encourage you very much so, we decided to pick up the topics which are relevant to non-executives, and one of them was the goal setting and how you actually run the remuneration policy strategies. And quite often we can use the great initiative driven by CGI on a global level and adopt them to the local market. So adopting these perspectives to what is relevant in the local market, what kind of businesses can share their own perspective is important. So what we did, we actually prepared the publication on the ESG goals in the management and the boardrooms. And we encouraged many businesses to share their own practices, to share their own stories. And in that way, we not only engaged the ones to share, but also, as I said at the beginning, leading by example is also playing a big pivotal role here. So there are just some hints. I wish you all the best. I wish each and every of you here to spread the news, to engage more of you. I see that you are having great statistics on your LinkedIn. I wish you to get more members actively involved and seeing the benefits of being educated and being inspired by your actions. And we are also very open for collaboration, for exchanging on many kind of webinars, conferences, events which we are organizing to just fit your kind of merits discussions in the future. So thank you so much, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, Fran. I think it's already like quite clear targets and quite clear topics you are guiding us to. It's about science-based targets and maybe goal setting. So maybe it will be interesting to see what was your experience and progress so that we can learn from that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck to you too. Keep striving forward. Okay, so the next part in the agenda is to see the ESG agenda in Uzbekistan. So we'll see the recent updates and what was done this year. So this will be presented by Olja Samara, KPMG team. So please, Nazima will share the presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Olja Samara. I am Director of Consulting Practice, consulting in sustainability and corporate governance in Uzbekistan. And I'm very happy to be here. First of all, I want to congratulate you all with the first anniversary of Chapter Zero Uzbekistan. I wish you all the best, prosperity, and I hope to celebrate more and more anniversaries with you. Thank you for the invitation. And today, in my short presentation, I wanted to tell you little overview on the ESG agenda in Uzbekistan for the past year. Next slide, please. I want to say that for the past year, there were a lot of interesting events related to climate agenda, to ESG overall, a lot of legislative changes and updates. But on this slide, you can see like the main highlights from the July 2023. First of all, it is the launch of Central Asian Green University. President of Uzbekistan, launched this Central Asian University of Environmental Studies and Climate Change. And there are a lot of different interesting programs and bachelor programs and master programs in sustainable management, sustainable finance, various environmental studies. And I think that very interesting advantage for current young people is that graduates of this university, they will be put on special talent pool and will gain after graduation 5 years of professional experience. So then they can implement the knowledge in working and implementing these changes and helping Uzbekistan to meet these sustainability challenges that the country currently faces. Also, there are different grants for students from Central Asia. Also, I wanted to mention that this importance of this climate agenda, ESG agenda, is strongly supported by President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, and one of these actions taken by the government and president is amendments to constitution, which were made in 2023, and this amendment is about that everyone in our country, in Uzbekistan, should have environment that meets the standards, high standards of developed countries, and this is the sign that the climate agenda is really important and is supported by the government. There were also other ESG events in Uzbekistan, for example, CMS COP14 in Samarkand, which was held in February, and it was about biodiversity and this importance of discussion of these problems was also outlined in conference COP28, which was held earlier in Dubai. Minister of Ecology of Uzbekistan took a part in that conference, and there were a lot of international cooperation with different countries, and one of the most important was related to climate change with other countries of Central Asian region. This was a document which is called Strategy strategy related to climate change. Yeah, also another important updates to legislation were related to renewable energy sources, because currently the share of renewable energy sources is about 10%, and amendments to the law, it states that by 2030, this share should increase up to 40%. And on Tashkent International Investment Forum, President also outlined the importance of increasing this share, and President also talked about different projects with United Arab Emirates, with China and other countries related to developing of renewable energy sources. Also, together with Aqua Power, country currently implements project to produce green hydrogen. Another important legal amendment is related to ESG reporting. Previous years, we were talking as professional services firm, as KPMG. We talked about importance of voluntary ESG aspect disclosure by Uzbekistan companies. And in February, there was a decree of president which states that starting from 1st of July 2024, state-owned entities with state share of 50 and more percent should disclose and should implement practice of disclosure of information and issue ESG reports annually. So I think this is a big step towards ESG maturity because all stakeholders, investors, shareholders, and our partners from other countries, they will see that this ESG agenda is important for Uzbekistan. And the most recent event is the issuance of Sustainable Development Report for 2024, which was issued by United Nations Sustainable Development Network. And on the next slide, you can see the results of this report for Uzbekistan. Currently, Sustainable Development Index of Uzbekistan is 81st place from 166 countries. And it is important to mention that this index actually is worse than for 2023. In 2023, Uzbekistan was on 69th place. And it is mentioned by the authors of this report that despite that some indicators show moderate increase or are on the same level, Uzbekistan still faces a lot of challenges in air pollution, in high load of traffic, and very fast urban development. I think we all understand these issues. We see that this winter the air was really polluted, and currently Uzbekistan works and finds ways to overcome these challenges. And on the next slide, there are some initiatives and activities that Uzbekistan implements in order to overcome these challenges of air pollution, water scarcity, and others. And one of such important projects is national projects Yashil Makon, and this project is aimed to increase the greenery level in Uzbekistan. And for the last year, more than 90 million of new plants were planted as part of this program, of this project. And also, there are on the right side 3 initiatives and 3 legislative updates, which are also aimed to make this environmental situation in the country better. First of all, it is a mandatory requirement for companies which have strong environmental impact to install automated substations for monitoring its emissions. By the end of this year and the next year, companies will install this, and these emissions will be analyzed more accurately. Also, there was in November of the last year, President issued a decree that all constructors on the new construction and existing construction products are subject to allocate at least 25% of the land, which is nearby the construction, for landscaping and greening. And industrial enterprises also are obliged to create green belts and landscape their territories. If we see, my last slide is about global sustainability trends. We see that Uzbekistan actually also supports these trends. For example, at the beginning of this year, there were 4 trends mentioned by KPMG. First is related to sustainability regulation and different reporting frameworks. Currently there are a lot of them, and they are very complex and related to different topics of ESG agenda. But Uzbekistan, as I said, made its first step towards information disclosure and transparency, and the future steps are to implement these frameworks in the reporting, such as CSRD, NRD, and IFRS S1 and S2. Also, it was mentioned that currently there is a shift in focus from carbon issues to others, such as biodiversity, and conference COP14 in Samarkand also supports this trend. Other trends are related to greenwashing, because this problem, this issue is relevant more to European countries, where companies should want to be shown like green, and they, for example, if a company has diversified business and they have some green product, they can make a statement that all this business is green. And this regulation for this greenwashing is becoming more strict for European countries. And I think in Uzbekistan, this trend will come later, because currently in Uzbekistan we face other challenges other than greenwashing. That is all that I wanted to tell about recent updates in which agenda in Uzbekistan. Thank you for your attention. We can discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucas, for quite insightful, clear, and at the same time quite a short and succinct presentation. Yes, hopefully every year we can also use several reviews, and we will see maybe better progress in the future. So thank you very much. So the next part is a short coffee break. We'll have around 20-25 minutes, and then we'll start the most interesting part is at the end, the panel discussion. Okay. But we will first take a picture on the stairs on the first floor. A group photo, and then we'll see the coffee.
We would like to start our panel discussion. My name is Zamira. For some unknown reason, I am a board member for Chapter Zero Uzbekistan, and I would like to moderate it. So since we are celebrating this first year of the Chapter Zero Uzbekistan, let's try to concentrate on the idea what we have done for the last year, what changing in the environment, in legal, in practical environment in Uzbekistan, about topics of the climate, ESG, reaching the sustainable development goals. And we'll start probably with the founding partners of Chapter Zero, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Thank you for getting back for us today. Could you please describe the what is the status and what is the development of the federal policies about the ESG and the climate in Uzbekistan for last year, and what we're expecting to see in the next few years? Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Just maybe I want to start with really thanking all the members who are sitting today here and as well connected online for supporting Chapter Zero. And I want to congratulate the executive committee on the successful implementation 1 year journey coming to this point. It was really a great success. And I think EBRD is very pleased to see Uzbekistan in Chapter Zero as one of the first ones in Central Asia. And it's been well recognized by many our colleagues and members around the countries of our operation. When it comes to our specific activities, I think what's important to highlight is that the way to limit greenhouse gas emissions is have come to the point that we don't have much time. I mean, the carbon budget that we need to reduce by 2030 has come to the point that we have only a very limited amount of time, and that amount of time requires significant investments. And for investments to be realized, the public sector cannot cope with the volume of investment that is needed. So private sector is very, very critical. And for private sector to come in, we believe that one of the main enablers is the climate ambition of the country, the climate ambition of the sectors, and we try to promote try to advocate for raising this climate ambition. The higher and clearer the targets and the ambitions, the more is going to flow to the country in terms of the climate finance, and both in the private sector and in the governments. So for that, a lot of you already know that we've been working with one of the key sectors is the energy sector, and we've been working with the Ministry of Energy, supporting them to define their net zero strategy up to 2050. And that journey has started back in 2019. And last year, it was one of the last iterations that we have done with them by demonstrating how the country can increase its ambition in terms of renewable energy, and then phasing out fossil fuel and reaching net zero by 2050. So that was a very good journey together with the ministry counterparts. And that the same ambition and the same target has been also confirmed by our colleagues from other institutions like World Bank, and also our colleagues from the Aqua Power who have done the similar studies. Similarly, we've been working with state-owned companies like thermal power plants in the energy sector to build their capacity as well, to understand what the climate risks are, what is the climate future for them will look like. So we brought in the notion of corporate climate governance into the organization, and we've been working together with support of Ernst & Young, who has done this assignment with us. They have developed their own corporate strategy for climate mitigation, and they have come up with an action plan. So we are happy to continue working with such clients, and we're supporting them in this journey. Also, we've been working with a number of counterparts, but one of the topics was how do you how do you send the right signals in terms of reducing emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, and how do you incentivize the market to take up the actions? And one of the instruments, of course, is the carbon pricing. So we've been scoping the market. What should be the sequence of actions in terms of whether you need to, how do you price the carbon, and what kind of market instruments you want to put in place? And that's we came up with a dedicated roadmap, and that roadmap has been provided to our counterparts, and based on which the Ministry of Economy is now working on a number of legislative regulatory frameworks. At the same time, of course, investments is our bread and butter. So we've been investing heavily with our partners such as Power and others into renewable energy projects. We support the Ministry of Energy with the green auction procedures. So if we look at the municipal sector, we have another flagship program that is called Green Cities, which helps the cities to define their sustainability strategy. And that strategy comes in the form of also action plan. It provides a vision for 15 years and then an action plan for 5 years. So cities learn how to identify their priority challenges in the area of environment, not only climate, it's water pollution, land degradation, air pollution, green space, even cultural heritage. And there are a lot of directions in the sustainability strategy. So we have developed one for Samarkand, and it's coming to be adopted very soon in the coming months. And we hope that once it's adopted, it will be another milestone for the city to take up on the investment actions to realize that strategy. Similarly, we've done in the corporate sector, we worked with, and these are, I'm just mentioning, probably it's very boring, but I'm just mentioning what we've been doing. And the sector by sector, another example, the fertilizer sector, we've done the same, like in the electricity sector, we've done this low carbon pathway. We basically we think it was a very successful journey as well, because they have immediately adopted their vision, net zero vision by 2050, and now they are in the process of adopting the action plan as well. So similar interventions in the financial sector, we support our partner banks to go from product-based approach, which looks into project by project, into more systemic change approach. If you bring governance changes, the system within your institution can change towards net zero vision, then you also bring this capacity, you bring the knowledge, the expertise, how financial institutions can put their own matrix, their own targets, their own criteria for financing green projects. That will also help many others to bring more green investment into the country. So these were some of the examples that we've been doing. But I think the key is when the real action takes place and the real investments take place, like the flow of finance. And that flow of finance depends highly. Again, I will reiterate that the country needs to show this ambition and define clearly as not only the country level, not only at the high level, but at the very specific projects, specific sectors and subsector level. And then it gives a long-term vision for investors. It gives scale. It shows what's the scale of investment they need to anticipate, and what is the time frame they can plan for their entrance into the country, because they are new into the region, into the country. There's a lot of competition from neighboring countries, from near other developing or frontier markets in the region. So we have to be smart about this and play according to according to these rules. And finally, I just want to mention that a lot of financial regulations are coming into place. Olžas had mentioned, one of those sustainability standards that are coming into the market, becoming a requirement now. So climate change is no longer an isolated topic. It's a financial risk. It's recognized as a systemic source of business and financial stability risk. So that's why this TCFD standard. That's why this IFRS F1 and 2 standards. That's why you have this NGFS, which includes supervision, financial supervision. They're rapidly mainstreaming this agenda into the financial supervision. So Uzbekistan has become a member of NGFS. Central Bank is the member, and we anticipate that it will also help with the green taxonomy already adopted. We anticipate that the financial sector will play a key role in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marika. I guess I do not agree with you on listing successful projects to be boring. This will be boring only to your competitors. So I hope next year you will be able to share us much wider with new projects. On that note, I wanted to jump to Shahrukh, who's representing another our available partner and let's say elder brother who started a bit earlier than Chapter Zero, but UN Global Compact is an important organization for us on the market. So please, Shahrukh, could you explain what changed for you for the last year within the organization? What is the view of UN Global Compact on the development of the sector? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me congratulate you with the anniversary one more time. It's a great achievement and based on the results, very impressive achievement. And I wish you that this achievement will be multiplied based on the capabilities. I'm sure that will happen in the future. So thank you for giving me the time to talk. As country managers in Global Compact, we have been operating and having in charge of Global Compact in Uzbekistan for more than 2 years. And we are a voluntary initiative, and companies who reach sufficient level of maturity in sustainability agenda, they join our initiative in order to get engaged with our platform and tools that we provide. So in Uzbekistan, we have up to date 24 companies joined, and in Kazakhstan, we have achieved impressive more than 70 companies in 2 years. And our main view on this is that in our region, we see lack of understanding. As our colleague from Poland, from Chapter Zero mentioned, that this is happening also in Poland, that companies don't have the necessary level of understanding of why they need to get involved into this. We see that there should be different phases of development in this aspect, and first of them is compliance aspect. So we are currently entering this compliance period when companies have to get involved with sustainability agenda because there will be a lot of regulations from government, from other organizations and stakeholders, and this is a phase which is inevitable, but at the same time useful for companies in order to get started and on the track. So we at this point are providing companies with accelerator platforms where companies can send their employees in order to learn about these intricacies, about benchmarks, about indicators, about the models, how to implement sustainability practices, and thus help their own companies to develop further and to comply better with whatever regulations are coming from government, both in terms of reporting and in terms of their ESG indicators and growing the ESG indicators. So currently, for example, we have launched a climate ambition accelerator, which we were thinking about launching last year, but we decided to do it this year. It's fully in Russian language. We translated all materials so that we can accommodate not only Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, but also Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan as well, because all of us share the same language. So currently we have more than 60 companies, participants joining this climate ambition accelerator, and the main focus will be on science-based targets. And I believe that this is one of the topics that can help companies to set higher ambitious targets in terms of climate, and eventually learn what actions, specific actions they need to take in order to implement it within their organization. Another aspect that I wanted to mention is that the main goal is not just help companies build a better sustainable image or do some projects with their direct operational goals, but we want companies to mainly start from within themselves. So all of our initial instruments and tools that we are providing now to our participants from Central Asia, we aim to help them start from themselves, build policies, adopt strategies, set aims, and train their employees and stakeholders to learn what this agenda is about and to help them understand better what are the implications for them in the future. And the next step will be to broaden the extent of the impact and to work more with partners, with stakeholders and others. So there are a lot of things that I can mention about this, and a lot of tools and instruments that not only we are using, but also our partners in other countries around the world. And this also provides one of the main instruments as networking for companies to join and share experiences. And I feel that our region needs most with networking, not only within the region, but also with other international partners. And initiatives like Chapter Zero and UN Global Compact ideal in order to provide this platform to connect, to network with other companies, and also to connect with additional stakeholders which are involved into their operation model. This is also one of the important things when companies move further from the compliance phase. They will need this understanding of maybe I can make empathy with others to understand what are the impacts they are bringing, both negative and positive, to the people living around, to the societies that they are operating in. And in order to build this empathy and understand them, connecting with stakeholders is important. There are a lot of models how companies can do this. And for the initial stage, I see that we, together with Chapter Zero, can provide this platform for building these networks and building these connections. So I think these are the views that we can share. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I remember there was an event where the Kazika was awarded one of the first members of the UN Global Compact, and happy to see that you all have 24 companies. And despite this growing interest of the private sector in Uzbekistan to the ESG and SG agenda, I guess we all will agree that the main champion here is the government. Ministry of Finance of Uzbekistan do a great job on issuing the SDG bonds, preparing the reports. So they do all this beautiful stuff. And today we have who advising the ministry on a number of questions in this area. So please briefly update us on the current status of what is going on in the ministry, what is the vision of the government. Is it just an easy and fun tool to bring institutional money from the development institute of Uzbekistan, or is it any wider and deeper approach from the government in terms of the current agenda and the questions of the covered by the UNGC and Chapter Zero? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this event, and I would like to congratulate all the Chapter Zero team for this successful year, and I wish you successful consecutive years in this direction. So, regarding your question, first, a very tricky question. Yes. You are right. Investment needs it's a very good factor for this, but Uzbekistan's government's view of ESG agenda appears to be more multifaceted, going beyond just the social fund. It's about sustainable development strategy and fulfilling international commitment of the government. First of all, ESG for the government, it's a sustainable development strategy. So after the COVID-19, the government started to think about ESG agenda or green economy agenda in a different angle, especially when a lot of reports came out and very good signals reached to the government regarding water scarcity, land degradation, energy efficiency problems, etc., etc. But the government put very ambitious socio-economic targets for the 2025 and 2030. That's why without looking at the socio-economic development through green growth prism, there is not another way. That's why ESG sustainability agenda prioritized by the government. So during the last 4 years, around 20 legislative acts have been adopted. 14 out of them directly related to ESG issues. More particularly, it's related to transformation of SOEs, introducing their IPOs, and it requires, of course, ESG implementing and ESG reporting exercises in this first. And secondly, national development plans have started incorporated in the green economy and ESG agenda. Starting from Uzbekistan 2030 strategy, you can see three components, three main priority directions directly related to ESG issues. And ESG, if you aware, this first ESG reporting of Uzbekistan in 2020 and first sovereign ESG reporting, investment reporting came out in 2021. So these two papers as well confirm that the government's main priority is sustainability agenda, ESG agenda. And secondly, the pushing point, this is ESG as a tool of fulfilling international commitment with the government. So Uzbekistan government ratified Paris Agreement and already took commitment to reduce 35% of GHG emission intensity towards GDP. And Uzbekistan is participating in global methane pledge. It also requires reducing methane leakage and methane emission. So such kind of initiative and our initiative also is pushing the government think differently from sustainability agenda. And how you say it, you are right. Third main factor is investment. Attracting responsible investment into the sectors of the economic sectors. Regarding your second question, regarding plans, so I can count 5 main initiatives or we can see agendas of the government regarding ESG sustainability green economy issues. First of all, in 2024-2025, Uzbekistan government is going to adopt its long-term low emission development strategy. So long-term decarbonization strategy. So it's about the carbon neutrality commitment of the government by 2025 or 2026. So this is the first how you can see that. And the second paper, mostly connected to the ESG agenda, it's national sustainability reporting framework. So already started to design this framework as well. So this framework covers several phases. In the first phase, so only SOEs will be covered by the framework, and some international standards will be added, like a GRR, Global Reporting Initiative. and the IFRS standards S1, sustainability related financial disclosure, and S2, financial related disclosures. And in the second phase, will be covered other SOBs in the full SOB sector, the government versus state entity sector. And the third phase will be covered private sector, not all private sector as well. It will be prioritized, develop the risk of private sectors, mostly emitting energy change. Mostly using energy, electricity or energy sources, and mostly emitting GHG. This is the second third thing, green taxonomy. Green taxonomy already adopted, but updating this taxonomy is going on. If you see the current taxonomy, only quantitative indicators include the current taxonomy, but in the new taxonomy, also considered qualitative indicators as well, and the sectors will be widened, the resource sectors. For one, Article 6 strategy will be developed and adopted until the end of this year. So Uzbekistan will start joining international carbon market, mainly in international transportation outside Europe, because right now, voluntary carbon market projects already started implementing in the country. But one decision of technical ministers allows to implement such kind of projects in the country, and already first tender announced, and the winners are identified. I'm not mistaken. In a days, it will be announced. The tender was about 4 solar stations emission reductions amount, carbon generation. So fifth one, it's CBAM readiness. CBAM readiness, Uzbekistan government already started to discussion on CBAM issues, and just started to design reforms and to enhance the use of the Uzbekistan entities. So initial assessments shows that by 2026, the carbon tax CBAM payments reaching 10 million USD for the Uzbekistan entities exporting, the EU exporting entities, and by 2030 it will reach to 70 billion USD. It's a huge amount for our national entities. So that's why the government started to think about it, to formulate some reforms. So these are 5 main, how you can say, initiatives and reforms on this direction.
Thank you very much. So really, seeing from my point of view, capital market, I know that, for example, the Green Department of the Ministry of Finance is bigger than entire regulator for the capital market here. So this, I guess, gives your some view on how important green agenda is for the government, how really they are looking for it. And on this, I always saying that the financial financial result, financial possibility of raising funding, as I has mentioned, will be the first initiative for developing this market and this sector, and we discussed it over the COVID break. So that's why I always, for last year, I was telling Zamira that we have to be much more practice focused to bring some value to our partners. And that's why I'm more than happy to have these 2 gentlemen from Agropower joining us today, because this is the real practical case how the big multi-billion international company
comes to Uzbekistan and became the local champion in terms of the green energy and development. So please, John, maybe we'll start with John from you. Could you please explain how these practices and policies are working in your organization in general? How it works in Uzbekistan? What are the specialties? What are some new obstacles when you will face it, and how you develop this sector? Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I think Chapter Zero is leading this initiative and inviting us as a private company who's the biggest investor in Uzbekistan in green energy is a very good privilege for us. So we congratulate you on your first and many activities in going forward. We are here to support you. So these things, in my personal opinion, are very, very important when we have this kind of dialogue. I think dialogue is the key part of platforms which we provide to us as investors, where we can also bring some insights. I mean, as Aqua Power, and I think Akash will require much more data on that. From the company perspective, let me just talk more about Uzbekistan perspective, how we are here. We are the largest investors in our dear friends from EBRD and this DFI who have been giving us this opportunity. We are humbled and very excited to be in this part of the world. This is the second largest investment for our outside Saudi Arabia. So this is something which is very, very important. Indeed, and we saw the news that we had a very big visit. We're coming to showcasing our solar power, which is now producing. So we are very happy for those things. But ESG strategy from Aqua's perspective is part of our strategy. It's not something outside. So we don't take it as it's part of our strategy to grow, at which is very impressive from our perspective. We want to triple our assets by 2030, which is the vision coming out of Saudi Arabia. But it's also luckily the vision which we have we are very, very keen to be aligned with the same approaches. When it comes to the practicality, I think the region itself, I think we all understand, we are just learning. We are starting this concept. These concepts are new, but I think what is good is that we don't have to go through this whole learning curve, because there is a lot of stuff which is available. So we can tap into the knowledge, the collective knowledge, whether it's coming from Poland or from Kazakhstan or from other places around the world, experts and DFIs which they are bringing. But I think we are, it's not just the investment we need, but we need investors also, who are strategic investors, who are here for long term. Aqua is one of them. And they do believe in the change which is required. So we are the largest company in the world right now. We're moving around and making ourselves much more available in other parts of the world so we can serve. But we are the green energy company, which is usually people, when it comes to say from somewhere, Aqua has been a very underrated, unknown company which is coming out of Saudi Arabia, and we are part of that growth story also. We are very proud of that. The part of our framework, which we believe is very, very important, and I think Hassan will tap into that. Similar kind of understanding comes in. What we are facing, I think there is a lot of support and guidance which comes from the investment. When we assess our investment, whether this country is important, we'll take care of and will support our ESG. Strategy also is very, very important because we started going on. We see a lot of progress is being made in terms of governance, in terms of the new legislation which are coming in. So that part we understand. I think what we need to do also is to assess the cost of the ESG. And I think that is where the requirement and platforms like Chapter Zero and others can add a little bit more understanding that there is a cost, and somebody has to pay for that cost. So that cannot be just undermined by just pushing a lot of requirements and trying to see if they're reporting, and then you have to measure them, and you have to. So there has to be action back. It cannot be just for the sake of reporting. It cannot be just sake of take costs. or to just to make sure that you have good ratings on in any kind of way. You have to be be really doing things, and when you're doing things, then you have biggest issue which we are facing is capability. We don't have experts. We don't have I saw that about the green energy. Green university is coming up, and the talent is really now going to be part of our this journey. But we lack that. So when you don't have capacity, then you make decisions in a hurry. You try to bring people from outside who do not have context. You don't understand that set. So as Aqua in our projects, we do face that mismatch between the expectations, which are way up there, and the context and the requirements and the capabilities which are in. We are trying to bridge those gaps, and the RDI are always there to help to support. There are auditors which come and they teach us. There are ways to kind of understand how we can manage those things in a way that can help us from different perspectives. These are obligations which we take over when we sign those contracts, long-term contracts. We are here for 25 years and more, so we are strategic. So we don't see a 3-year or 5-year approach. We look at it long-term, and we are investing in people in their capacity. So capacity is one area which I think is important that we should do, and maybe there is something more collaboration between in terms of educating ourselves. But I think the other side of it is there is a certain amount of customization has to happen when it comes to expectations, because the funding is coming from outside. You all know that, and those expectations are coming from a different continent. And that is a dialogue which can only a dialogue can happen. So when we go and talk about green bonds, we talk about all other requirements, they come with the strings, and those strings may actually stifle the growth. So we have to be a little bit more conscious that if we are going to push ourselves so very quickly for getting into this, and do something very rapid and in a very fast way, we may end up, not putting that foundation that requires a long term. So that is something which we talk about it. We don't have, internally we are looking at our projects across the new projects. So every time we have a learning, we share it to the next project. So the next project is better, then the next project is going to be much better. Our own capacity as who we are as management is going easy. So that there are a lot of initiatives which are, and the other side is that there are a lot of initiatives which are happening in isolation. So I heard quite a lot of KPMG report, other stuff, which we are not being invited to this. We are not being asked to come and provide inputs or how it will affect. So we certainly receive a regulation or a kind of that we have this will be implemented, which is right. No, this is the right thing to do. There's no two ways. But I think the way we feel it could be more and effective, for the industry in different industries, not just the energy sector. If we have been asked to get input in a way that can help them. Why it is important is the other part, which we have learned here, is that being working in 15 different countries, and if we are not just one, there are many other investors who have been working in many other countries, we can actually bring a lot more insights. We can also bring some pitfalls that these are pitfalls, this will work, this will not work, and we can try to create a dialogue which will help refine and basically help us take a leap into this. We are already lucky, in many ways, it's not very that we are already on the right track of achieving our goals set for carbon reductions that we and Aqua is almost leading it. We are very happy to do that. There's another aspect which I think is important when it comes to governance. I think that is where we take a lot of pride. We have our structures. We obviously have lots of governance, best practices which are there, that we do KYC with suppliers. Like 3 years ago, it was a big deal. Everyone said, why do we need to fill these pages? It was so many questions, why you're asking this. And slowly our suppliers or our partners are now, they do understand this thing. And why it is important. Hopefully that is kind of, from that perspective, I think it's becoming better. But we have to also start having a dialogue. So we reflect ourselves. time to time have our own, we take our own stock, and we think that we can actually do more by engaging our suppliers better, explaining them that this, these kind of things can actually help, and creating a little bit more of a preference for working with those who are actually in line with supporting the ESG agenda which we have. So those parts are important, but at the same time, I think there is another need. It's my kind of maybe a little subjective view, is the leadership itself. I think companies that will be put enough weightage in these things also. That is also important. So I think that leadership, the way it's being done, is a cultural change. It's not just the framework for leading. It has to be a cultural drive where everybody becomes more conscious about those small things. Because ESG has at least 30,000-40,000 different things which we have to do, not just one thing. It has to be part of our culture, and part of our routines, and unlearning those bad habits. It takes time. It doesn't happen in one day, and it will take. So I think there is a part which I'm trying to make is that whenever the regulations are coming, the requirements are coming, they need to be at some stage. There has to be a change. There has to be some patience, and I think patience should also come from the ones who are funding those programs. It cannot be. It's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot more learning which has to go in, expertise which has to go in, and then the cultural team has to come and support that on a daily basis. So that we create those values, not just for the sake of a monthly or weekly or a yearly report to gain that great rank. So that is a long term. Certain changes are always long. They take time. So I think that is important. The other part is that, which I recently was part of another workshop OECD was doing, and they were kind of creating a different kind of understanding, saying that they XR and it's ESG, and then these are the business, best practices, and the government, and they're doing some more funding, they're doing some OECD doing research, and they're doing some studies, and they're proposing another way of how this thing will happen. So that may end up confusing a little bit on which path they're taking. So I think that those kind of initiatives which are happening, if industry is not part of that, then it will be taken as like, oh, this is being enforced, and anything which is enforced, we know by nature that people resist. And I think it's always good that we can take everybody together, bring them into that kind of open dialogue, that candid dialogue. And I think we all, as a company, we know that we have to be more responsible, and we have to actually lead. And this ESG should be part of the study of our study, not as a separate, box. We do something or a department which is dealing with that. So from our perspective, I think we are on track. There's a lot of learning which has happened in the past 2 or 3 years. We don't pretend that we know everything and we are the best. No, that's not the case. We are very proud, though, that we learn. We learn from our mistakes, and then we try to improve on the next one. And part of that, which is very, very important, I think, which is usually under, don't talk a lot about it, because of the globalization, the workforce which we have, that those implementations of those policies, those initiatives, they also trickle down to our people, and they take it to their home. So that is not just one thing that we do on the top as a company, but I think that goes beyond that. And we are very, very thankful for EBRD and ADB and others to hold the mirror. And basically they said, no, you cannot do it. You have to go and redo things. And that's not just us. The impact then moves from the EPC. The EPC moves that impact to the subcontractor. So there's a trickle down effect where we all are actually by default trying to learn, trying to unlearn, trying to move forward, and trying to make that effort. And the last thing which I will again like to touch base a little bit about that is the passion. I asked Zamira about that. I said, why did you pick this? And she said, I like challenges. I like to crack on these big issues. And I think that is the individual. We bring who we are. Yes, and Anwar was saying when we're talking about it, I think there's a lot of thought process which goes there. Yes, for yourself. And I think and I'm going to talk a bit more about that. That who we are becomes actually the gate. It provides you the strength, it provides you the passion, because these are tough questions. These are tough questions. It's because it's not about it's always a trade-off. It is not a balance, you can't find balance. There's always a trade-off. And trade-offs are always difficult. There's the cost we need, and then there is the need that we have to meet. We have to do something much better than what we took from when we came for our next generation. So there is a trade-off. And I think that trade-off needs to be discussed. We need to have a dialogue, but we also have the leadership and the passion to come in to help support this transition, which is equally important for today and for future growth of Uzbekistan, which we believe will be the best, one of the best growth stories in this part of the transition, if not for the rest of the world.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. So, lack of capabilities, decision taking in hurry, costs, need in joining efforts of all organization. I guess this is the route of our strategy plan for the next year for Chapter Zero. Thank you. So from the strategy plan, let's maybe jump to some practical next event on how to practically use all these ideas. So Sam, could you please share? So since you overseeing the financial for the original project, we have many those solar, wind, power. How do you manage this operational process? I guess it's different problems every day, and overall KPIs, targets for keeping the policies in place. How does it work in this big company as what part?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, and congratulations for such a nice event. This is a very big learning opportunity for me for learning for everyone. We could be a very diverse kind of positions and views, especially coming from Tom and from the and others. That gives us a lot of products and how we have progress in the future. I would before going directly into the operational side of it, I would be going to deliver more broader about the project of power as a thought process for the ESU. And possibly I will be referring parts that John has already spoken about, because we are coming from the same company, same background, same position. So look, from Aqua Power perspective, first of all, the focus has very recently started from the ESG as everybody is embarking on this. What we looked at was that, okay, how do we report as a person, what standards we have to meet? And so that part has already started, and that reporting requirements as they progress and how we can refine the information that will keep on coming in. The benefit of that reporting is that you bring in focus for the key areas where you have to improve and what are the key methods. Then when Aqua Power has formed the framework for ESG for our organization, the board formed that, and then it then roots down into the organization that we have to implement those strategies, ESG strategies, right? So particularly the key focus areas include the energy transition, which is you can see that our review, the focus on the renewable energy is the key. Then we have health and safety, we have water management, we have on the people side of sustainability. So with the focus on these areas, then it further builds down the project execution phase. In the project execution phase, we have various stakeholders, and starting from financiers, the likes of UPRD, and we enter into agreements which are requiring a lot of compliance on the ESG. All those compliance requirements then have to be spread over into towards all the stakeholders, so whether it is our power purchase agreements, which go towards the government, and obviously the government has its own policies that have to be made. And then it goes to the EPC contract, particularly because that's the largest portion of the really matters, and obviously the O&M agreement. And then when it goes to the EPC contractor, that it has to then further go into the subcontractor. So which means that it's a continuous chain of the continuous supply chain that has to be affected by that. Now, as John was mentioning, that somebody has to pay that cost, okay? And that's the key factor that comes in when we are negotiating our agreements. At that time, this pricing goes into that. Now, the government, once, as you mentioned about that, the governments are the key focus area and policy makers for ESG. So they know, they understand that these are the short-term costs, which has a long-term benefit to the overall, not only the Uzbekistan, but also the world over itself. It's a positive impact. Like, for example, when we are implementing the green projects, the renewable projects, whether it is solar or wind, they have a cost there because it would be far easier for stable grid to have a CCGTs, gas-fired power plants and coal-fired plants because they have tested it right. But the cost of the environment that these projects would have, specifically the coal costs, that is too much, and therefore the governments decided to move towards the green energy. And what we as Ecopower are doing is that we have set up targets which are very, very aggressive. So the first target is that by 2030 we have 50% green energy, and by 2050 we have to go to net zero. Now, this aligns with the target of the government of Uzbekistan as well as the government of Saudi Arabia. And with these targets, what we believe is that we have major contributor towards achieving the net zero target. The Ecopower itself is one of the largest power producers, and probably the largest in this region, especially in the Middle East and in Malaysia. So we will have a major impact on the future of the greenhouse gases. So this is the framework that we work on. From the operational perspective, what has to happen, as Noel was mentioning, the standards that we follow, they are very, very strict and very well defined as well by the documents and the standards. But then you have to have a reality check. So theory is one thing, and then it's the reality comes in when you're really implementing the project, the remoteness, the requirements of those projects, the availability of the right talent who can go into those locations and work in those difficult situations. For example, on ESG side, we have our regional positions control overall regional department. And then it drills down into the project where you need to have monitoring, the training, the guidance, and then it's a continuous process, right? Because it's a behavioral change. I think John mentioned it as a cultural change. I call it more like a behavioral change. And we have an experience of that because in safety, this is exactly the story that we have. And safety was not looked at it as a contributor, that it was considered as a cost. And again, when the cultural changes started happening in the power sector, the change that mainly happened was that with safe operations, you have better, reliable, sustainable operations. Similarly, with ESG, the shift that has to happen is that it's not about the cost side. It's not a cost side. Rather, it is the long-term benefit of the sustainable projects that we need to achieve in order to have a better future, not only for us, but for the rest of the next generations.
Thank you. Just if you know the number, what might be the percentage of the people who is working in technical control, ESG control in your country or in your company or in your investment projects?
So Yeah, so we, for each project, we have a dedicated CMO, ENS managers, that's what we are. And then we have the regional level that we have the expertise, and then you have the corporate level, which the whole, and then obviously it goes down to CHR department, which is very big across all our projects and HSC. So in HSC, we on an average, we have 3 to 4 people every site. So it will be around at least out of 4,000 people, around 150 people are dedicated across our, which are actually working towards these kind of areas. But then it's not just stop there. Obviously, you know, the top management can always involve in that and safety, as well as other audits which we are going to use. The ESG part, which is in Uzbekistan, we are actually ramping up, as I was talking about the lack of capability. So we have a huge amount of hiring. You know, we have like 7 or 8 positions right now, and we're kind of looking for people to bring on board. But the environmental side is much better. We get a lot more qualified people, because there is already because of the coal base and everything, environmental regulations have been this part of the world quite okay. Biodiversity is the real problem where we can find much better experts who have an understanding, who have knowledge, which ties with the land. So sometimes we have to get engineering, but lenders don't agree with them because they don't have the ability to problem. So those are the for each project dedicated to biodiversity, ENS, CLO is a must that we have to have. And then on top of it, we have to provide that. But that doesn't stop there. We have dedicated, experts, consultants. So if you add that amount of people who are dedicated, and then you have the auditors, which start on Google audits and process to do quite a lot. People who are focused. But at the end of the day, I think it's the top management which really set the tone, and you go and ask those questions. So we have the weekly, bi-weekly or monthly, discussions where we have everybody talks like yesterday, today, and the whole Central Asia presented our strategy on safety and across all our companies. They were listening what we are doing, and that is the knowledge management that part. So a lot of people get involved on an individual basis. Like site, like in terms of being fast, a lot of people have to get involved in ESG projects because it's independently alone. Whether it's so we have bird watchers, where you take teach them how to build the watch for the avoid take care of the environmental from biodiversity, because you try to because everybody who's moving, if they see a turtle, we teach them how to go and please, not take care of those countries. Everybody gets involved in that sense. So there's a lot more eyes and hands available, but at the same time, it's a culture. And I think what I've been saying, our focus and majority of the industry historically has always been focused on safety. Now you have to bring the same passion, same understanding to our partner university and towards ENS. And that will help us take.
Thank you. This is very impressive. And so this note, and you probably have one of the widest base of clients who probably comes to you and asks you help to write down this policy. Does it same great picture as John described us in other companies in Uzbekistan, or we are lacking this level of passion, as John said, in us, especially state-owned companies? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. This is very much productive question from the clients. So I will just hide behind attorney client privilege. And just focus on boring topics related to law. I was checking my notes, and many of things which have been already mentioned by colleagues, and very much thank you. So at the same time, but in terms of if you look at these things from legal point of view, we've been listening to, I can say, market incentives, right? How financial institutions incentivize, right? They're not going to finance now all projects, right? So this is market mechanisms. Also, John mentioned about culture. I think it's a very fundamental element in this whole picture. And if we add this from legal point of view, colleagues were mentioning, government cannot do everything. Of course, government plays a very important role. And on this, I just want to start with two fundamental points. We have a law on nature protection from 1992, and which has a principle which has not changed since then. It says any person who has caused damage to the environment shall be obliged to compensate, including loss of property. So this is a fundamental principle enshrined in law. So if you cause harm to the environment, you have to compensate. And there was a case by a Supreme Court decision from 2021, where it says if somebody committed offense against the environment, but for some reason that person, whether it's corporate or individual, did not suffer, was not initiated, let's say, administrative or criminal liability, still that does not relieve such person from compensating for the damage. So this is the position of the Supreme Court. So, and I think these are good starting points, so that from government policy point of view, and what the court says, that if you cause harm, you have to compensate damage. And I think that's a cornerstone of, you know, sustainable development, because we have to preserve what we have for ourselves and for future. In terms of how this is regulated by state, of course, we know often it's kind of reactive. Everybody knows Presidential Decree 2021, which announced a moratorium on cutting down trees because of, you know, what's happening in Washington City, expanding intensive construction of construction, and then this one I think asked as a reaction, which is normal. You know, government reacts when there is a need from society, when they highlight a particular issue. And this moratorium now became indefinite. But the question is, you know, head of state saying we should not cut, but whether the implementation is it's not up to just the state, but structure law enforcement as well as members of society, how we do this, right? So in terms of general legal framework, of course, we have economic liability, we have administrative liability, as well as criminal liability. And if you look, this liability gradually is becoming more stringent. So penalty is being increased. If you just today, I was reading news that Parliament now is a change in law relating to noise pollution. So if you cause noise, the amount of penalty you will be paying will become much greater now, which is, I think, it's very important thing, which will nobody will even consider that there will be liability for noise pollution or even the concept of noise pollution. Now, in our perception, often when we talk about environment, we talk about trees. But actually, by law, there is a liability. There's for soil pollution, because it's very important, for air pollution, for water pollution, as well as, you know, damage to fauna, you know, the cutting down trees, or including, as well as I mentioned earlier, noise pollution. So we have these principles, and so what is the practice? What is law enforcement pursuing? And we looked at decisions, publicly available decisions, and we see that according to stats, we see only 0.2% of rulings relate to like offenses in the environmental sector. 0.2%. So in 2023, we saw that 46 rulings in criminal offense. But in 2 months of 2024, this year, already 27. So you can see the trend that now courts, law enforcement are paying more attention for offenses in this sector. So in this context of ESG, probably this is something which is more tangible, because when you talk about taxonomies, etc., it's because one of the principles in the corporate governance you have to comply or explain. But of course, the government cannot say, oh, you're not following the rule, there will be criminal or administrative liability. That's why usually the incentive comes from market, right? So because if the business perceives this as a risk, then they try to mitigate the risk without even nudging from the state. So, but however, clearly we see that there is a trend that the government action is taking more stringent in terms of mitigating offenses. And the trend is to make certain offenses which were administrative to change category from administrative to criminal line. I think that trend is universal. But on this point, I just want to kind of pick on issues which colleagues from Chapter Zero in Poland mentioned, as well as what John was talking about, awareness, right? That's very important thing, because I think these 46 cases is very adequate, because I'm sure everybody sees every day one offense related to the environment, right? Somebody cutting trees, or you have trucks driving without, you can see the fumes. So everyone has been at least once, or at least very frequently witness to such, let's say, offenses. But are we aware that this is actually wrong? And second, when talking about culture, it is something we have to cultivate, right? It doesn't happen overnight. Because of these, the John mentioned, this takes time, because it's about society. And Chapter Zero, I think, it's a phenomenal in the sense for raising awareness and cultivating such culture. But on the other hand, we have to have a positive side of culture of awareness, but also we should have cultivate culture of intolerance. So, like if you see somebody violating, traffic rules, you report. Same way, I think we should help the state by, warning, reporting on non-compliance, shall we say, in the ASU. So, and finally, yeah, in terms of perception of urgency, I think that talks to this what Parliament doing, because on one hand we have to achieve development goals, economic solution, but on the other hand, government should balance between right priorities, as you say, check the reality with these high goals. And I think finally, in that context, the role of education will be important. Building capacity and developing the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a million questions, but unfortunately, we are limited in time. And it's good that we'll have something to discuss on next events organized by Zamira. Thank you very much to everyone, all the panelists, everyone in this room and in Zoom. Once again, thank you, Zamira.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, for moderating the session. Now it's the last part that will take no more than 5 minutes. So it's just a small ceremony of awarding the efforts that all of you are trying to contribute to Chapter Zero. So. The first person I want to have to come up, because we want to say here. He wants to initiate the project and help us and still helping us. So thank you so much. Your efforts are so much. Okay, we have all this. Oh, it was previously. Oh, okay. So, everyone, okay? So that.